Imagine spending New Year's Eve with your family, quiet streets outside, dinner just finished, the year ahead is full of hope. But by the next morning, everyone in your house is dead. The killer doesn't run away, he stays, eats your ice cream, uses your computer, and even changes his clothes. More than 20 years later, police have his DNA. They know what he looks like, they know what he wore, but he is still free. This is the story of the Setagaya family murder, one of Japan's most chilling crimes. Morning light creeps over a quiet street on the edge of a park, frost on the grass, thin winter air. A grandmother knocks. No answer. She knocks again. Still no answer. She has a key and she lets herself in. She calls out for her daughter. Silence. Not the soft kind, the heavy kind. The kind that makes your chest tighten because your body knows before your mind does. She climbs the stairs, holding the rail with one hand. Halfway up, she freezes. Mikio lies near the staircase, motionless. The scene is wrong in an instant. He's not sleeping. She moves past him in a state that's not quite shock and not yet grief. Upstairs, she finds Yasuko and Nina in the bathroom area. In another bedroom, 6-year-old Ri is still in bed. The possessions tell a story she never wanted to read. 4 lives ended inside a home that felt safe the night before. Police move in. They secure the rooms. They see signs of a fight across the landing and the hall. There's blood splatter, broken items, and marks that show movement up and down the stairs. They note a locked door that did not hold. They note a kitchen drawer left open where knife should be. It is the picture of a struggle that started fast and kept moving, but the scene does not fit a fast robbery or a clean hit. There's no smashed front door, no empty jewelry, no missing TV or game console. It looks like someone had time, a lot of time. The house sits next to a public park. On one side, a low barrier, a tree with branches that reach near a second floor window, and a short drop into the bathroom. Investigators think the intruder came that way. It avoids the lit front door and gives a direct route into the upper level where the children sleep. The spot is easy to reach from the path. Once you know it, you can move in shadow in under a minute. The timeline starts late at night. Inside the dark, the attacker moves quietly through the rooms. Ree is strangled in his bed. No shout, no alarm. That choice removes the loudest risk first. It is tactical and cruel. It tells you the person came prepared. Moments later, makes you hear something and leaves the room. A violent struggle follows. The fight moves from room to room. There are scuffs and falls. A banister is marked. Blood shows a path across the landing. Mikio fights hard. He is cut and stabbed. At some point, a blade breaks. The attacker grabs a kitchen knife to continue the assault. It's close, frantic, and personal. It ends with Mikio down near the stairs. Isuko and Nina try to hold the bathroom space. A door does not stop the attacker. They suffer many wounds. The pattern suggests fear and rage in a small area with nowhere to run. Within minutes, a family is gone. The house falls quiet again. A normal crime ends here. This one does not. Pause. One more detail. Next door, through a shared wall, lives Yasuko's mother. The homes are connected. Help was feet away. The intruder still took his time. He stays. He moves through the kitchen like a bored guest. He opens the freezer, eats cups of ice cream with a spoon he does not bother to wash. He drinks barley tea from a container in the fridge. He leaves the cap open. He treats a hand wound with the family's bandages. Bloody tissues go into the trash, some are left on the counter. He uses towels and leaves them over the chair. There's no rush in these movements. He changes clothing. A hat and a scarf that were not the family's end up on a sofa. At least one item from the home may have been put on in a place of what he arrived in. A strange mix of being careful in one moment and careless in the other. He puts his hands on surfaces without wiping them. Prints will be lifted later. He wanders to the family computer and wakes it. The screen glows in the dark. Logs show clicks and activities into the early hours. He opens programs. He He moves from page to page. The activity is not a search for money. It is not a rush to erase data. It looks like a man who has nowhere else to be. Timestamps suggest he is still in the house well past midnight. Some reports point to activity later than that. He acts like he owns the place. He uses the bathroom and does not flush. That single choice leaves DNA that will be preserved for years. He leaves blood in more than one spot. He eats again. He rests. One theory says he may have slept for a short time and then woke before dawn. Another says he waited for the first light to blend in outside. Either way, he walks out the way he came in, stepping back into the park as the city stirs for New Year's Eve. The street looks normal. The house does not. Forensic teams collect what the killer shed and touched. There is a full DNA profile from blood and other biological traces. There are fingerprints lifted from surfaces he never wiped. There are shoe impressions with a known sole pattern and size. There are fibers and hair recovered from clothing he left behind. The pile of items isn't small. It's the kind of hole that usually closes a case. There are a small stack of clothing he didn't take with him. A hat, a scarf, and a top. The fabric is tested and bagged. The items are traced to specific stores and limited runs. Some are common in Tokyo, some appear to have been purchased outside Japan or at import shops. None come with a buyer's name, and cash obviously leaves no paper trail. A hip bag with an outdoor style draws attention. The stitching and material point to sources not typical for a local department store. The size of the bag fits someone who travels light. Inside, trace debris tells a story of someone who moves, someone who has been more than one place, but trace is not a passport, it's only a hint. The blade that broke is found in the house. A replacement knife from the kitchen shows way more damage. The angle and depth of the wounds tell experts the attacker is right handed and strong. Size estimates based on prints and reach point to a slim, young adult male. DNA indicates East Asian ancestry. It looks like a solved case waiting for a final line, the identity. But police run the DNA through national databases and there's no match. They check prints, no match. They send details to partner agencies and ask for help. Still nothing. Years pass, the evidence remains strong. The that matters never appears, and yet clues keep pulling in opposite directions. The routing suggests local knowledge and comfort with the park, the fence, and the bathroom window. The clothes and the hip bag hint at cross-border ties or stores that cater to travelers. The behavior in the house looks sloppy and impulsive. The key itself looks focused and brutal. So, which version of the man is real? Detectives also map the digital timeline. They log the moments the mouse moved. They log the moments the program opened and closed. They compare those stamps to when the grandmother last saw lights on and when neighbors recall hearing anything at all. None of it gives a face, but it gives a rhythm. The killer didn't panic. He settled into the house after the murders like someone killing time between trains. They note what he did not touch. He did not touch the living room for cash. He did not search the master bedroom for jewelry. He did not make small gadgets that are easy to sell. This is the person who either couldn't be bothered or didn't come for those things. He came for control, violence, or a private reason we still do not see. The shoe impressions are logged. The thread matches a popular athletic style from that era. The size is consistent with a slim adult male. It narrows the range, but it does not seal the case. Hundreds of thousands of people own that pattern at that time. Fibers and hairs go under glass. They wait for a day when lab tools can pull off one more answer. 31. A local young man who knew the park, knew the fence line, and felt safe climbing to a second floor window at night. He slips in, acts with sudden violence, then lingers because he feels invisible in his own backyard. This explains the entry and exit. It matches the comfort level. It struggles with one fact. If he was local and ever touched the criminal system after 2000, a match should have appeared. Never does. Theory 2. Random burglar who panicked, comes for valuables, surprised by Mikio, and attacks. But burglars who panic run. They don't eat, change clothes, browse the web. They don't treat their wounds like they are in their own bathroom. They do not leave a mountain of trace evidence when fear is the only thing in their head. Theory 3. Targeted killing linked to work or a grudge. A planned entry, a prepared weapon, A fierce confrontation with the father. It fits the intensity and the focus on the adults. It fails on the aftermath. Professionals do not sit in the crime scene and snack. They don't leave blood, prints, and clothing in the piles. They clean or they run. This killer did neither. Theory 4. A traveler with no record in Japan. Some items hint at purchases outside the country. The DNA suggests a background that is less common in the neighborhood. A person like that could vanish the next day and never enter a system that would flag him. This accounts for the no match problem. It does not explain why the specific family on the specific night and why the long casual stay in the house that shares the wall with the grandmother. Theory 5. A young offender with a mental illness or a break from reality. That could explain the shift from focused violence to a strange calm. It could explain eating or browsing and leaving basic hygiene behind. But even then, more than 2 decades is a long time for zero contact with any system that would capture DNA or prints. Each theory covers one set of facts and misses the other. Every answer creates a new question. This is why the case keeps people arguing 20 plus years later. When you try to pin it down, it slips. When you zoom out, it splits in two. A killer who is both deliberate and careless. Detectives don't walk away, they preserve, retest, and recheck. As forensic tools improves, samples are run again. Small amounts of DNA that once sat idle can now be read. Mixes that were hard to separate become clear. Each new pass promises that this time the key will find the lock. Door to door work was done for months after the crime. Store owners were asked about limited run clothing. Import shops were visited. Trash was searched for receipts. Bus routes and train lines were mapped against the house. Skate park groups were interviewed because of earlier disputes near the park. Nothing linked cleanly to a name. Anniversary appeals go out every year. Tape lines collect rumors, hints, and half memories. Some are noise, some are close but cannot be verified. The fight goes deeper. The open question remains the same. Why kill the children? Why stay for hours? Why leave so much behind? Why take nothing that matters for money? Why use the computer if you don't want to be found? Each why hits the same wall. We don't know. The house itself becomes a time capsule. Some rooms are left as they were. The address turns into a symbol for a question Japan cannot answer. People pass it into their way to the park and lower their voices. For some, it's a place they avoid. For others, it's a pledge that the family will not be forgotten. There are practical reasons the case stands still. Not everyone who commits a violent act is in a database. Cash purchases leave no buyer trail. Clothes can be traded or gifted. People cross borders and never give a fingerprint. Perfect DNA profiles only a key. Still needs a lock to fit. And if the killer has lived a quiet life since that night, the chance of a random match stays low. So the file remains open, the family is remembered, the neighborhood lives with a story that surfaces every December, and somewhere a man carries a memory he has never had to explain. He knows the sound the freezer made, he knows how his hand stuck when the bandage went on. He knows the cold glow of a monitor in a silent room. He knows the weight of a house that was not his and the stillness that followed. He knows what the sky looked like when he stepped back into the park and walked away. Until a myth tied to that memory, the Setagaya murder will sit in a strange place. A case with more proof than most and still no answer. That's why people watch and read and argue. It's not only the horror of the act, it's the feeling that the answer is inches away and just out of reach. If a single match appears, one fingerprint, one cross border hit, one buyer record that survived in a box in the back of a store, everything changes. A door that stayed shut for 2 decades could swing open in a day. Until then, the question stands. The evidence waits, and the street stays quiet on winter mornings, the way it was the day after the crime. Cold air, thin light, and a house on the edge of a park that still asks for a name. So we are left with a house on the edge of a park, Evidence that should have been enough, and the name no one can find. Maybe the match can still come from a border check, a minor arrest, a family member who wonders why a cousin avoids December, or maybe it comes from a receipt in a box that a small shop never threw out. Until then, the facts stand out and the questions echo. Who climbed that fence? Who walked through the rooms? Who ate that ice cream and stared at the screen while the city slept?